The silence of deep space carried an unexpected tension as the Zalaxian scout fleet approached the Sol system. Commander Vexnar studied the holographic displays that flickered with data streams, his four-fingered hand resting lightly on the command console. Centuries of galactic exploration had taught the Zalaxian Confederation that most emerging civilizations followed predictable patterns. They would be primitive, fractured, and easily managed. Earth appeared to be no different. Preliminary long-range scans painted a familiar picture of a young species barely understanding its own potential. Radio signals, rudimentary space exploration limited to a few robotic probes beyond their home planet, and a civilization still wrestling with internal conflicts. The Confederation's historical database suggested these humans would be another simple acquisition, another civilization to be cataloged and integrated into the greater galactic order. Lieutenant Zorak, the fleet's primary intelligence analyst, projected a series of human communication records onto the main view screen. Fragments of broadcasts, internet communications, and scientific transmissions created a mosaic of human complexity. Most alien species would see chaos, but Vexnar noticed something different. Beneath the apparent randomness, there was an underlying current of rapid innovation. Analyze the technological progression, Vexnar commanded, his translator rendering the instruction in precise, clinical tones. Zorak's specialized algorithms began processing decades of human technological development. The results were curious. Where most emerging civilizations showed linear progress, human technological advancements seemed to move in unexpected quantum leaps. They had gone from basic powered flight to space exploration in mere decades. Their communication networks evolved with a speed that defied conventional understanding. The scout ship's quantum communication array intercepted a series of transmissions that particularly intrigued the command team. Scientific discussions that casually discussed theoretical physics, engineering concepts that seemed to challenge fundamental understanding of energy manipulation, and strategic planning documents that revealed a deep, systemic approach to problem solving. Their computational systems are primitive by our standards, Zorak reported, but their approach to problem solving suggests an adaptive intelligence we haven't encountered before. Vexnar understood the implications. Adaptive intelligence could be more dangerous than advanced technology. It meant the ability to learn, to change, to overcome limitations through creativity and determination. The Confederation's standard protocol for emerging civilizations was straightforward. A diplomatic envoy would make contact, present the terms of galactic integration, and expect compliance. Resistance was historically futile. Thousands of species had been peacefully incorporated into the larger galactic community, their resources, knowledge, and populations becoming part of a greater whole. Yet something about these humans gave Vexnar pause. The scout fleet's sensors continued mapping the Sol system with precision. They identified multiple orbital defense platforms, rudimentary compared to Zalaxian technology, but positioned with a strategic complexity that suggested careful planning. Communication networks crisscrossed the system, a web of information that seemed disproportionately sophisticated for a supposedly young civilization. Prepare initial contact protocols, Vexnar instructed, but implement additional security measures. Zorak raised a questioning sensor ridge. Additional security was unusual. Their fleet could obliterate the entire human civilization with a fraction of its available weaponry. But Vexnar had learned that caution was the first principle of successful galactic management. The human broadcasts continued to stream. Scientific discussions, cultural exchanges, debates about technological and social challenges. Each transmission added another layer to the growing complexity of their understanding of this emerging species. Something was different about Earth, something that the standard Confederation protocols might not be prepared to handle. As the scout fleet moved closer to the inner solar system, a sense of anticipation built within the command structure. They were about to make first contact with what appeared to be just another young civilization. They had no idea how profoundly that assumption was about to be challenged. The first engagement began with a calculated precision that reflected the Zalaxian Confederation's centuries of military dominance. Commander Vexnar watched as the initial contact squadron approached the inner solar system, expecting a swift and predictable response from the human defensive network. Nothing could have prepared them for what happened next. The human response was unlike any first contact scenario in galactic records. Instead of panic or immediate surrender, the Earth's defensive fleet moved with a fluidity that defied conventional tactical understanding. Each vessel seemed to communicate instantaneously, adapting to the alien approach with a level of coordinated complexity that suggested something far beyond simple military training. Lieutenant Zarak's sensor arrays began registering impossible data points. Human ships were not just responding to the Xylaxian fleet. They were anticipating movements before they occurred. Communication patterns suggested a networked intelligence that transcended traditional command structures. Where alien military doctrine relied on hierarchical decision-making, these human vessels operated like a living, breathing organism. The first volley came not from weapons, but from information. Targeted communication bursts disrupted the Xylaxian fleet's quantum communication networks. These weren't simple jamming techniques, but sophisticated data packages that seemed to understand and exploit the very architecture of alien communication systems. Encrypted messages danced between human vessels, creating a battlefield environment that constantly shifted and reconfigured. "They're using our own communication infrastructure against us," Zarak reported, a hint of professional admiration breaking through the usual clinical tone. Vexnar watched in growing confusion as human vessels performed maneuvers that seemed to defy basic principles of space combat. They used gravitational assists from nearby planetary bodies, transformed asteroid fields into defensive barriers, and maintained communication networks that adapted faster than the Xylaxian systems could analyze. The most shocking element was the human approach to warfare itself. Traditional galactic conflicts followed predictable patterns: overwhelming force, strategic positioning, calculated risk assessment. These humans seemed to view combat as a dynamic, fluid environment where rules were constantly being rewritten. A small squadron of human ships, clearly outgunned by the alien technology, demonstrated a level of tactical creativity that bordered on the incomprehensible. They used short-range communication bursts to create false sensor readings, manipulated electromagnetic signatures to appear in multiple locations simultaneously, and employed molecular-level energy dispersal techniques that made traditional targeting systems useless. "Their technology is primitive," Vexnar muttered, "but their application is." The commander stopped, unable to complete the thought. The battle became a complex dance of information, positioning, and unprecedented adaptability. Human vessels moved not as individual units, but as part of a greater, almost organic network. Each ship seemed to possess an understanding of the overall strategic environment that went beyond programmed responses. Zarak's analysis revealed something even more disturbing. The humans weren't just defending, they were learning. Each exchange of fire, each defensive maneuver, was immediately integrated into their overall tactical approach. The Xylaxian fleet found itself facing an opponent that was evolving in real time, adapting faster than any known species in galactic history. Communication intercepts provided glimpses into the human approach. Scientific discussions, collaborative problem-solving, a cultural emphasis on innovation that transformed every challenge into an opportunity for growth. Their military doctrine wasn't about destruction, but about finding creative solutions to complex problems. As the initial engagement drew to a close, the Xylaxian Confederation found itself in an unprecedented situation. What should have been a simple first contact had transformed into a fundamental challenge to everything they understood about emerging civilizations. The human fleet had not just survived. They had demonstrated a level of adaptive intelligence that suggested something far more significant than a simple military victory. They had shown that potential was limited only by imagination and the willingness to challenge existing boundaries. The research team assembled in the Xylaxian Confederation's primary scientific analysis chamber represented the most brilliant minds from 7 different species. Holographic displays cascaded with data captured during the initial engagement with human forces, each visualization more perplexing than the last. Dr. Krintle, a quantum physics specialist from the Luminarian Scientific Case, carefully reconstructed the energy signatures of human weapon systems. What should have been a straightforward analysis became an exercise in intellectual humility. The human technology defied every established understanding of physics, materials science, and energy manipulation. "Look here," she said, highlighting a specific energy signature. "Their weapon systems don't just fire. They adapt." The hologram showed a human vessel's defensive and offensive capabilities shifting at the molecular level. Weapon arrays that could recalibrate their fundamental energy signature in microseconds. Hull plating that could dynamically alter its molecular structure to absorb or deflect different types of energy attacks. It was as if the entire ship was a living, thinking entity. Senior Analyst 4 Max examined the communication network intercepted during the battle. Human technological infrastructure was a marvel of distributed intelligence. Where the Zalaxian Confederation relied on centralized command systems, human networks appeared to be a self-organizing, adaptive system. Each vessel, each communication node, operated with a level of autonomy that simultaneously supported and enhanced the collective capabilities. "They're not just using technology," Vormax observed. "They're engaging in a continuous dialogue with their own systems." The most striking discovery came from their analysis of human computational approaches. Traditional galactic computing relied on predictive algorithms and predetermined response matrices. Human systems seem to operate on an entirely different principle: constant learning, immediate adaptation, and a form of problem-solving that bordered on intuitive reasoning. Dr. Krintle's team discovered that human technological development followed a pattern unlike any known civilization. Most species develop technology through linear progression, incremental improvements building upon established principles. Humans appeared to approach technological challenge as a continuous process of radical reimagining. Their energy production methods were equally revolutionary. Preliminary analysis suggested they were developing energy conversion technologies that could extract usable power from quantum fluctuations, a concept that most galactic scientists considered theoretical at best. The humans treated it as a practical engineering challenge. Weapon systems presented the most shocking revelations. Traditional military technology focused on raw destructive potential. Human designs demonstrated a nuanced approach that prioritized precision, adaptability, and minimal collateral impact. Defensive systems that could predict and neutralize potential threats before they fully materialized. Offensive capabilities that could be instantly reconfigured based on the specific requirements of a given engagement. "It's not about the technology itself," Dr. Krintle explained to the assembled research team, "but their approach to technological development." The human patent records intercepted during the initial contact provided profound insights. Where most civilizations closely guarded technological advances, humans seemed to embrace collaborative innovation. Scientific papers discussed challenges openly, invited critique, and viewed technological development as a collective human endeavor. Vormax highlighted a particular set of communication logs. Human scientists from different disciplines, physics, engineering, computer science, materials research, seemed to communicate with a level of interdisciplinary fluidity that challenged traditional academic boundaries. A materials engineer might collaborate with a quantum physicist to solve a computational challenge, an approach that seemed to accelerate technological development exponentially. The research team's conclusion was unanimous but deeply unsettling. The humans represented something entirely new in galactic technological understanding. They were not just developing technology, they were reimagining the very concept of technological progress. "We are not dealing with a typical emerging civilization," Dr. Krintle summarized in her final report. "We are witnessing a species that views technological challenges as opportunities for collective growth, where innovation is not a destination, but a continuous journey of discovery." The Zalaxian Confederation had encountered many species in its long history, but humans suggested the possibility of a fundamentally different approach to technological and scientific advancement. one that could potentially reshape understanding of progress itself. The human approach to conflict defied every established psychological model in the Xylaxian Confederation's extensive database, where most civilizations approached warfare as a purely strategic endeavor. Humans transformed conflict into a complex psychological landscape that challenged fundamental understanding of strategic engagement. Dr. Elin Morales, the lead human strategic coordinator, sat in the Central Command Center with a calm that seemed almost impossible given the magnitude of the situation. Her team moved with a synchronicity that suggested something deeper than mere military training. They communicated through a blend of verbal instructions, digital interfaces, and an almost imperceptible network of subtle gestures and glances. The Xylaxian intelligence analysts found themselves confronting a paradox. Human communication during the conflict wasn't just about transmitting information. It was about creating a shared understanding that transcended traditional command structures. Each team member seemed to possess a holistic view of the conflict, capable of making decisions that supported both immediate tactical requirements and broader strategic objectives. Intercepted communication logs revealed an approach to psychological warfare that went far beyond traditional military doctrine. Humans didn't just seek to defeat their opponents, they sought to understand them. Every engagement became an opportunity for learning, for finding alternative solutions to complex challenges. Commander Vexnar's psychological profile, meticulously compiled by human intelligence teams, demonstrated this approach perfectly. Where the Xylaxian commander expected a straightforward military response, the humans had constructed a multi-layered approach that anticipated his potential reactions with uncanny precision. The most striking element was the humans' ability to transform information into a strategic asset. They used communication not just as a tool for coordination, but as a weapon of psychological adaptation. Carefully crafted message sequences would create cognitive dissonance in the alien fleet, introducing uncertainty and disrupting established decision-making patterns. Psychological warfare became a nuanced dance of information, anticipation, and strategic positioning. The human teams appeared to understand the psychological breaking points of their opponents with a depth that suggested something more than simple military intelligence. They seemed to possess an innate ability to read the underlying motivations, fears, and potential responses of their adversaries. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, the team's primary psychological strategist, explained the approach during a post-engagement briefing. "Conflict is not about overwhelming force," she said, her voice calm and analytical. "It's about understanding the complete ecosystem of decision-making. Every action creates a response, and our job is to anticipate and shape those responses." The Xylaxian fleet found itself constantly off balance. Human vessels would create elaborate feints that revealed deep insights into alien thinking patterns. They seemed to understand not just the technological capabilities of their opponents, but their psychological limitations. Communication patterns suggested a collaborative approach to problem-solving that was fundamentally different from hierarchical military structures. Each team member was empowered to contribute insights, to challenge existing assumptions, to propose alternative strategies. This distributed intelligence created a level of adaptability that traditional military systems could not comprehend. Vormax, the senior Xylaxian intelligence analyst, noted something even more profound in his reports. The humans viewed conflict not as a binary state of victory or defeat, but as a complex interaction of potential outcomes. Each engagement was an opportunity for mutual understanding, for finding solutions that went beyond simple military objectives. The psychological complexity extended beyond the immediate conflict. Intercepted communications revealed a species that approached challenges with a combination of scientific curiosity, strategic thinking, and a fundamental belief in collaborative problem-solving. They didn't just want to win, they wanted to understand. As the engagement continued, the Xylaxian Confederation found itself confronting a fundamental challenge to everything they understood about military conflict. These humans had transformed warfare from a simple exchange of force into a complex psychological interaction, a dynamic, evolving process of mutual discovery and adaptation. The most terrifying realization for the alien fleet was not their technological disadvantage, but the humans' ability to turn every moment of conflict into an opportunity for growth, understanding, and unexpected collaboration. The space around Jupiter became a canvas of strategic brilliance, a battlefield that would redefine galactic understanding of warfare. Commander Elena Rodriguez studied the holographic displays, her team surrounding her in a state of focused calm that belied the complexity of the unfolding engagement. The Xylaxian fleet approached with overwhelming technological superiority. Their weapon systems could obliterate entire planetary installations, their energy shields capable of withstanding most known forms of attack. On paper, the human defensive force was hopelessly outmatched, a fact that would prove to be their greatest advantage. Jupiter's massive gravitational field became the first unexpected weapon. Where most military strategists would view the gas giant as a potential obstruction, the human fleet transformed it into a dynamic tactical environment. Precise calculations allowed human vessels to use the planet's gravity wells, magnetic fields, and complex orbital dynamics as both shield and strategic accelerant. The first wave of Xylaxian ships discovered that traditional approach vectors were suddenly rendered useless. Human vessels moved with a fluidity that suggested they were reading the gravitational landscape like a living map. They surfed Jupiter's magnetic turbulence, used its atmospheric layers as defensive screens, and created combat zones that defied conventional understanding of space warfare. Lieutenant Marcus Chen, responsible for orbital dynamics, explained the approach during a post-battle analysis. "Every limitation is just an opportunity we haven't understood yet," he noted. The team had spent months studying Jupiter's complex environmental systems, transforming what most would consider a challenging environment into their primary strategic advantage. Xylaxian sensor arrays struggled to maintain tracking. Human vessels would appear and disappear, using Jupiter's massive electromagnetic interference as both cover and communication network. They communicated through burst transmissions that used the planet's natural radiation as a form of encrypted communication medium. The most shocking element was the human approach to resource utilization. Small drones, seemingly insignificant, began harvesting material directly from Jupiter's upper atmospheric layers. These drones would quickly modify themselves, using harvested gases and particulate matter to create temporary shield enhancements, repair damaged systems, and even generate short-burst propulsion. Commander Vexnar watched in growing confusion as his technologically superior fleet found itself repeatedly outmaneuvered. The humans weren't just fighting, they were fundamentally reimagining the concept of battlefield engagement. Every Xylaxian strategic model collapsed when confronted with this dynamic, adaptive approach. The battle became a three-dimensional chess match where the board itself was constantly changing. Human vessels would use Jupiter's massive moons as gravitational slingshots, creating approach vectors that the alien fleet's predictive algorithms couldn't anticipate. They transformed the entire planetary system into a living, breathing tactical environment. Vormax, observing from the Xylaxian command ship, noted something even more profound. The human fleet wasn't just using the environment. They were in continuous dialogue with it. Each vessel seemed to possess an understanding of the planetary dynamics that went beyond simple computational calculation. Technological limitations became strengths. Smaller vessels with limited energy reserves would tap into Jupiter's magnetic field, drawing power in ways that defied traditional understanding of energy transfer. Damaged ships would use the planet's complex atmospheric layers for emergency repairs, using raw materials harvested directly from the gas giant's upper atmosphere. As the engagement reached its critical phase, the human fleet demonstrated a level of environmental integration that seemed almost organic. They didn't fight against the challenges of the Jupiter system. They became part of it, transforming limitations into advantages with a creativity that defied conventional military understanding. The final moments of the battle revealed the true depth of human strategic thinking. What began as a seemingly hopeless defensive action transformed into a comprehensive demonstration of adaptive intelligence. The Xylaxian fleet, with all its technological superiority, found itself completely outmaneuvered by a force that viewed challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for creative problem-solving. Jupiter bore silent witness to a fundamental shift in understanding of warfare, strategy, and the potential of intelligent adaptation. The central communication hub of the Zalaxian Confederation erupted into chaos. Holographic displays flickered with data streams from the Jupiter engagement, each visualization more disturbing than the last. Centuries of galactic dominance began to crumble in a matter of moments. High Chancellor Drelnak watched the battle analysis with growing horror. The carefully constructed narrative of galactic hierarchy, a system that had maintained order for thousands of years, was unraveling before their eyes. Emerging civilizations were supposed to be predictable, manageable. Humanity had shattered every established protocol. Research teams worked in frantic shifts, analyzing every scrap of intercepted human communication. The scientific corps of 7 different species collaborated with an urgency that bordered on desperation. They weren't just studying a military defeat. They were confronting a fundamental challenge to their understanding of technological and social development. Dr. Krentel's preliminary report landed on the Central Council's communication network like a quantum charge. Her analysis went far beyond simple military assessment. "We are not dealing with a typical emerging civilization," she wrote. "Humanity represents a completely novel approach to technological, social, and strategic development." The intercepted human communications became a source of both fascination and terror. Scientific discussions, cultural exchanges, and strategic planning revealed a civilization that approached challenges with a fluidity that defied traditional understanding. They didn't just solve problems, they reimagined the very nature of problem-solving. Historical archives were systematically re-examined. Every previous encounter with emerging civilizations suddenly looked different. The Zalaxian Confederation had always viewed technological progression as a linear path. Humanity suggested something far more dynamic, a continuous process of adaptation and reinvention. Diplomatic teams began extensive research into human cultural and historical records. They discovered a species defined by continuous transformation. Technological innovations, social movements, scientific breakthroughs. Humans seemed to approach every challenge as an opportunity for fundamental reimagining. The most disturbing revelations came from studying human collaborative approaches. Where most civilizations relied on centralized decision-making, humans demonstrated a distributed intelligence that allowed for rapid innovation. Scientific teams would form, dissolve, and reform with a flexibility that suggested an entirely new model of knowledge creation. Economic analysts reported even more shocking findings. Human economic systems didn't just adapt to change, they seemed to thrive on it. Traditional models of resource management and technological development collapsed when confronted with human approaches to innovation and problem-solving. Vormax compiled a comprehensive psychological profile that sent shockwaves through the Confederation's research teams. Humans didn't view limitations as barriers. They saw them as invitations to creative problem-solving. Every challenge was an opportunity for growth, every setback a chance for fundamental reimagining. The communication networks became a web of speculation and growing concern. If humanity could transform a seemingly hopeless defensive position near Jupiter into a comprehensive strategic victory, what other potential did they possess? The implications stretched far beyond a single military engagement. Cultural historians began re-examining human historical records. They discovered a species that had repeatedly transformed seemingly insurmountable challenges into opportunities for growth. From technological innovations to social movements, humans demonstrated a capacity for rapid, fundamental change that defied conventional understanding. High Chancellor Drelnak called an emergency session of the Confederation's primary council. The agenda was simple but profound. How do you manage a civilization that doesn't follow any established rules of development? The final report from the research teams was both a warning and a revelation. Humanity was not just another emerging civilization to be cataloged and managed. They represented something entirely new in galactic understanding, a dynamic, adaptive species that could potentially reshape existing models of technological and social progression. As the holographic displays continued to cycle through battle analyses, one thing became crystal clear. The galaxy had encountered something unprecedented. A civilization that didn't just challenge existing boundaries, but seemed capable of reimagining them entirely. The age of predictable galactic expansion was over. The age of human potential was just beginning. The diplomatic vessel approached the designated communication zone with a blend of caution and curiosity that defied traditional first contact protocols. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez sat at the central communication station, her team surrounding her in a carefully balanced display of professional readiness and open communication. The Zalaxian delegation had spent weeks preparing their approach. Traditional galactic diplomatic methods involved clear hierarchical structures, predetermined communication protocols, and carefully managed information exchanges. Humanity promised to be something entirely different. First contact began with an unexpected gesture of scientific collaboration. Instead of demanding territorial concessions or presenting a list of integration requirements, the human diplomatic team proposed a comprehensive data exchange. They offered insights into their own technological developments, scientific challenges, and cultural approaches with a transparency that completely bewildered the alien negotiators. Dr. Marcus Chen, the lead scientific coordinator, explained the approach during the initial communication window. Understanding is more valuable than conquest, he stated, a principle that fundamentally challenged every established model of galactic expansion the Zalaxian Confederation had developed over millennia. The communication itself became a complex dance of information, cultural exchange, and mutual exploration. Human representatives didn't just respond to Zalaxian statements. They asked probing questions that revealed a deep curiosity about the alien civilization, where most emerging species would approach first contact with fear or submission. Humans engaged with a sense of equal partnership. Vormax, observing the diplomatic exchanges, noted something profound in his analysis. The humans weren't seeking approval or integration. They were offering collaboration, a fundamentally different approach to interstellar relations. Each communication became an opportunity for mutual understanding, for finding common ground that went beyond simple political or territorial considerations. The most shocking element was the humans' approach to potential conflict. Instead of presenting defensive postures or aggressive demands, they proposed collaborative research initiatives. Scientific teams from both civilizations were invited to explore shared challenges, to develop joint understanding of complex technological and social problems. Ambassador Rodriguez presented a comprehensive proposal that went far beyond traditional diplomatic documentation. It wasn't a treaty of submission or a declaration of intentions. It was an invitation to a genuine exchange of knowledge, a proposal for mutual growth and understanding. The Zalaxian delegation found themselves confronting a completely new model of interstellar communication. Humans didn't view differences as barriers. They saw them as opportunities for learning, for expanding collective understanding. Each point of potential conflict became a chance for creative problem-solving. Cultural exchange programs were proposed alongside scientific collaborations. The humans suggested something radical, a genuine opportunity for mutual understanding that went beyond simple political or technological exchanges. They wanted to learn about Zalaxian culture, to share their own experiences, to create a genuine dialogue. Psychological profiles revealed something even more profound. The human approach to diplomacy wasn't about winning or losing. It was about finding shared solutions, about recognizing the potential for collective growth. They approached the conversation with a combination of professional caution and genuine curiosity. The communication protocols themselves became a point of fascinating study. Human language systems demonstrated an incredible capacity for nuance, for finding common ground in seemingly incompatible perspectives. Where most species would struggle with translation, humans seemed to transform linguistic challenges into opportunities for deeper understanding. High Chancellor Drelnak received the diplomatic reports with a mixture of confusion and growing respect. These humans were not requesting integration. They were proposing a genuine partnership, a collaborative approach to galactic exploration that challenged every established model of interstellar relations. As the diplomatic exchanges continued, one thing became increasingly clear. Humanity was not just another civilization to be managed or controlled. They were proposing a fundamentally new approach to interstellar communication, one based on mutual respect, collaborative potential, and a genuine desire for shared understanding. The conversation was just beginning, and nothing would be the same again. The Zylaxian Confederation's Central Council chamber fell silent as the final reports were compiled. Centuries of established galactic understanding were being dismantled, not through violent conquest, but through a profound revelation of potential. High Chancellor Drolmak reviewed the comprehensive analysis of humanity's unexpected emergence. What had begun as a simple first contact had transformed into a fundamental reimagining of interstellar civilization. The humans had not conquered through force, but through an unprecedented approach to existence itself. Scientific teams from across 7 different species collaborated on understanding the human phenomenon. Their research revealed a civilization that defied every established model of technological and social development. Humans didn't just adapt to challenges, they viewed challenges as opportunities for collective growth. The most profound insights came from studying human collaborative approaches. Where most civilizations relied on rigid hierarchical structures, humans demonstrated a fluid, adaptive intelligence that allowed for rapid innovation. Scientific teams would form, dissolve, and reform with a flexibility that suggested an entirely new model of knowledge creation. Dr. Krentel's final report became a landmark document in galactic understanding. Humanity represents more than a new civilization, she wrote. They represent a new approach to existence, a model of continuous adaptation, collaborative innovation, and collective potential. The economic implications were equally staggering. Human economic systems didn't just respond to change, they thrived on it. Traditional models of resource management and technological development collapsed when confronted with their approach to innovation. They transformed limitations into opportunities with a creativity that seemed almost organic. Diplomatic channels revealed an approach to interstellar relations that was revolutionary. Instead of seeking dominance or integration, humans proposed genuine partnerships, scientific exchanges, cultural collaborations, shared research initiatives. They viewed other civilizations as potential collaborators, not conquests. Psychological profiles showed a species defined by continuous transformation. Every challenge was an invitation to grow, every difference an opportunity to understand. Their approach to conflict, to problem-solving, to understanding fundamentally challenged existing galactic paradigms. The Zylaxian Confederation found itself at a crossroads. Their entire system of galactic management, built on hierarchical control and predictable expansion, was being challenged by a civilization that operated on entirely different principles. Historical archives were systematically re-examined. Humanity's journey showed a consistent pattern of transforming seemingly insurmountable challenges into opportunities for collective growth. From technological innovations to social movements, they demonstrated a capacity for fundamental reimagining that defied conventional understanding. Admiral Vexnar, once the lead military strategist who had initially approached Earth, now became a primary advocate for understanding. His research teams documented how human approach to conflict transcended traditional military doctrine. They didn't seek to destroy. They sought to understand, to find collaborative solutions. The communication networks buzzed with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. If humanity could transform a seemingly hopeless defensive position into a comprehensive strategic partnership, what other potential did they possess? The implications stretched far beyond a single civilization. Cultural historians noted something even more profound. Humans didn't view differences as barriers. They saw them as invitations to deeper understanding, to expanding collective knowledge. Each point of potential conflict became a chance for creative problem-solving. High Chancellor Drolmak's final address to the Confederation became a moment of historical transformation. "We are witnessing," He proclaimed not the integration of a new civilization, but the emergence of a fundamentally new approach to existence itself. The galaxy was changing. The age of controlled expansion, of predictable development, was over. A new era of collaborative potential was beginning, an era defined by humanity's unique approach to innovation, understanding, and collective growth. As the first joint research stations were established, as the first collaborative missions were planned, one thing became crystal clear. Humanity was not just another civilization to be cataloged or managed. They were architects of a new cosmic understanding.